Hi everyone and welcome to my channel, and today we're gonna talk about palettes, about eyeshadow palettes and a couple more palettes I absolutely can't live without. Okay, let's start with most important palettes for me, like for pro makeup artists, I can't live without. I take it for my every appointment, and we're gonna start with the first palette. It's a palette Makeup by Mario, and this one was a limited palette. I think I told you about it already, and let's do a quick check. It was a limited palette, and the name is I think Ethereal Eyes. And the palette I would really love to buy one more time, and this is very client's palette, and this palette has like really cool, amazing like shades, and you can see like some matte textures and some sparkles, but those sparkles are very special. And I would say like all these three sparkles, they're very special, and they're special because the texture it has very kind of creamy and very shiny that you can apply on the top of the matte eyeshadow. And technically I'm using every single shade in this palette. That's that's not very common for me, because usually I prefer some shades from the whole palette, but those one, like literally I'm using every single shade. Probably only this shade, I think the silver one is not my favorite, but all the other shades are absolutely the best, and if you still can buy it, I highly recommend it. Okay, another palette, actually this is like a kind of brand new Mario palette. Mario had before another palette that was more warm undertone, but I love so much those cool undertones. And to be honest, when I first bought this palette and I started like comparing it, I thought it's actually the same palette. I was like, I'm gonna show you now both of them, right? But this one is Master Matte and this one is Master Matte's Neutral, and I wanna show you guys that those palette looks kind of the same. Okay, that looks kind of the same, but as you can see, it's not the same, because this one is in cooler tones, those one in warmer tones. And I don't know, but recently I do use a lot cooler tones. My problem with the first one, that I think I was just not lucky, and the palette I got was not as creamy as another one. And what I feel, mine is kind of blends pretty bad, and I just had to go to the store and complain about it and ask to replace this palette, right? And I could just take another one and that should be better, because my friend has the same palette, exact the same palette, and her palette is much way softer than mine. I don't know what's wrong with mine, but I feel like I love new one more. Probably formula is a little bit better, but I can't say for sure, right? Because I'm not as expert in manufacturing those palettes, but this palette is pretty good. I would highly recommend you just check the texture, make sure you have but make sure your palette blends really well. I also recommend to have it in your makeup kit, because I don't know, I think it's really smart. I like that it's very simple packaging. I like that it has like it has 12 shades, and I can use every single shade. And I love the black shade here, like a black one is amazing. This one, like another favorite palette from Chanel, those one I'm literally using every single shade. All those three shades are pretty cool, and I love the texture a lot. And you can see these guys here, because the colors look very rich. Of course, it's Chanel, and I love how it looks on the skin. I love how it blends. And those one, I would say not like a matte shades, it's a little bit a satin, and I would also highly recommend it. Actually, I would recommend it not like for pro makeup artists, I would recommend it like for your personal makeup kit palette. That's that's one of my favorite, amazing palette. I can't live without it. I have it in my in my case all the time. Another palette from Dior, and the shade is Soft Cashmere 669, and I love those palettes so much, but unfortunately it looks like this. You see? I don't know how, I don't know why, but my Dior palettes always in this condition, and I was trying to fix it. I'm just probably gonna buy new eyeshadow because I can live without this palette. I love these cool tones, and in this palette also I'm using every single shade that's cool for a night out makeup, that's cool for bridesmaids, you know, sometimes I can use it for a bride. And because this palette has amazing deep brown shade, gray shade that is like a little shimmery, and in the middle very nice blending shade that's really easy to blend. I don't know, this like satin beautiful textures from Dior. It's I can tell this like one of my favorite palettes ever. Those collection is truly the best, and those two shimmery those two shimmery shades like are literally the best. I don't know, that's beautiful eyeshadow palette from Dior in cool tones, and if you're looking for something very like probably Christmas or New York Eve vibe, I would highly recommend those palette. This is Dior Soft Cashmere, amazing palette, but I don't know why it's so soft. It's always breaking apart, and I'm giving up on this, and I'm probably gonna buy a new palette. Here I have couple palettes from Charlotte Tilbury, and Charlotte Tilbury is also one of my favorite brand. And of course the classy palette that is Pillow Talk that you can see, you can tell it's kind of my favorite, right? And another palette that was kind of limited edition, this palette in the shade of Celestial Pearl, and also one of my favorite palette. Those palettes really good for brides. It's a little bit pinkish. It's Pillow Talk, of course, for people who love Pillow Talk. Charlotte Tilbury doesn't need like any introduction, right? Because all her products are pretty great. You have two matte shades, one satin shade, and one beautiful, beautiful sparkle that you can use on the top. You see, right? That you can use on the top. And this shade actually also really great palette for self-use, to have it in your personal kit. But this palette from Charlotte Tilbury that was limited edition, I know you guys probably can't buy this now, but if you find this palette, I would highly recommend it if you love bronzy, goldy, and pinkish shades, right? I love so much to use those three shades. I don't know why, but I'm not using this shade much. That is actually really pretty. That's very soft. You see how soft it blends. My favorite is this sparkle. This like little bit gold, but it also with a, it's like a duo chrome shade with gold with pink. And I would say it's my like one of the favorite to finish like a pinkish look. And here is just a sparkle, right? And this one is just a bronzy color. Actually, you can use all the shade to create a look. Usually they build the eyeshadow palette those way that you can use all the colors and you can create a look with this shade, and you can probably create like a couple, 3, 4 looks using only one eyeshadow palette. Well, highly recommend it if you find it. Soft textures, amazing product. And here I have plenty of Tom Ford palettes, and I'm gonna start with two palettes that I can't live without. I'm probably gonna buy a new one because it doesn't look like really pretty now. And those two palettes I had to put on the side because of the hole in palettes. And when I used to live in Miami, I used to work a lot with this beautiful palette from Tom Ford in a shade of Honeymoon. I think all the makeup artists know about this eyeshadow palette, and you can tell I was using those two shades a lot. That looks very pretty for to like eye makeup for models on the beach, on the sun, when you're shooting swimsuits, right? Like when you when the sun goes on the eyes, you know, like, and how it's you know, how it looks on the pictures. That's absolutely amazing. Also, those palettes amazing for night out looks. And you can see in most of my work those palettes, I would say in earlier works, and I don't use those two shades much since I don't do a lot of makeup in colors, and don't get me wrong, I love those so much, and I'm definitely gonna buy the same palette because I can't live without those two shades. And you can find those bronzy shades in a lot of Tom Ford palettes, but trust me, it's not gonna be the same, and nothing is the same like those two palettes. And another Tom Ford palette that I also absolutely love, and since I work a lot, not in the office, I work a lot, I go to clients, and I always have to carry those palettes a little bit broken already, and this shade is absolutely the best. I use it for inner corner, you know, and I used it like two-way often, and you can see this little hole here, and those two cooler shades also look very beautiful. This palette is the Tom Ford Nude Dip, and I absolutely love it. You know, like I really love all Tom Ford palettes. All what they do, like every palette is like I'm so in love with them. This palette, this is my new favorite palette, like not really new, but that was also a limited edition. The palette name is Upper Ski, and in this palette I'm using like every single shade, and you can see that I don't use much those one because for me it's a little bit too red, but another one, this one pinkish shade, very beautiful, like to apply it on your lid, or this like a darker shade. Actually, it's pretty close to this shade in Nude Dip. You see, also pretty bronzy, right? Those two shades look pretty close, but I would say those one is a little more cool, like cooler on the tone, and this one is like more warm. As I said, nothing is the same, you know. Well, this one beautiful for inner corner, and this is like really great actually bridal eyeshadow palette, or if you love to use on like a pinkish eyeshadow. I have like some face palettes, and the first palette that I'm not using anymore, but I ordered a new one, and I'm obsessed with this palette, and it looks already, you can tell I used it a lot, and now it's in my personal kit because I feel so bad to get rid of those two shades. And those one palette it's a face palette, face contour palette from Dior, and in the shade 001. I would highly recommend those one to have it if you're a pro makeup artist, or there's also a great palette if you're looking for a contour palette for self-use. And that's great palette because you can use it like whole year. You don't need to see like, oh, in summertime I'm more like bronzy, I'm more like tan, or wintertime I'm more pale. Those palette gonna work for you like all the time. Love it. And another palette from Dior, this is Glow palette. It's highlighter palette, of course. Those one like really great palette for pro makeup artists because it has all the pretty tones, and you have like whiter, you have like a highlighter more on the gold side, bronzy. If you like pink highlights, also I actually love pink highlights when you add it like on the blusher, you know, or itself, you know. I would also really recommend it, especially if you're a makeup artist, and I love personally this in a shade 001. I know they have now a lot of different shades, but those one is my favorite. Okay, and here's the last palette I absolutely love, and I'm begging Charlotte Tilbury to bring it back to stock because I... But it doesn't matter, I still love this palette. And I'm asking Charlotte Tilbury to bring it back to stock because I would buy a couple of them, because this is like the best palette from her old collection. I love when you can find different blush on the palette, and if she could make like a whole palette with brush, it would be awesome. It would be my favorite product I ever bought, you know. And I love this face palette. It has 2 blush and 2 highlighter, and I use it over almost on every single makeup because it has like a deep tone and more pinkish tone, you know. And also it has like more like pinkish highlighter, but if you compare, for example, like this highlighter to highlighter from Dior, you see, and that's not as pink. You see, those one like really bright pink, and those one is like more like a pink. I don't know how to explain. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. But those one is like absolutely favorite palette, and I have it. I have it in a Pillow Talk Fair medium, and I really hope one day they bring it back in stock because it palette has already holes. I don't want to get rid of it. I ordered a couple more new blush, but still I love it in this beautiful box. Packaging is amazing. It's a little bit old, you can tell. Packaging is amazing, shades amazing, everything is great about those palette. Highly recommend it if you find it. And I hope one day. That's it, guys, and it was my favorite makeup palettes I love to share with you. And please let me know if you have your favorite products. Please share with me, tell me which makeup products, which palettes you love, and or which products you really recommend me to try, and I would love to try and share with you. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.